there guys, this is me, Malorian, and this will be a Paintisode. I haven't done one of these in a long time, and basically what these are is that you don't need to worry about watching this. You can go grab your paints or do this while you're doing something else, because I'm just going to be talking for, normally a Paintisode is about an hour, where I go and I paint something, and maybe you paint something, and basically it's just something for you to listen to while we both get stuff done. But this one's going to be a little bit more special, because we got some stuff to talk about. For those who don't know, today they went and they announced that they're doing Mark III. So right now there's not like a lot of details. There's some things that's out there. There's some stuff that's really pissing people off and getting people worried. So I thought I'd talk about that because a lot of players haven't really gone through big edition changes. You know, even though War Machine has already gone from Mark 1 to Mark 2, a lot of players haven't been around here that long. And for those who have, I mean, it's just the one change. Meanwhile, I've gone through lots of edition changes through my Warhammer Fantasy and 40K. And so, yeah. I have a little bit more experience, especially with some of these changes, like pre-measuring, that hopefully I'll have some insight on. Otherwise, we can just be talking about anything. And today, I'm going to be celebrating this Mark III huge change with some of my favorite Sambuca here. So, you know, Mammoth John might have his Kraken, I got my Sambuca. One of these days, we have to get together, and yeah, there you go. Like this, that's how Sambuca was meant to be drank. But yeah, one of these days, John and I have to get together and get a game and maybe a little bit of a drink machine game. We'll have to kind of see about that. But either way, as far as painting goes, what I'm going to try and do is continue. I have some like unfinished painted stuff over here. Like there's still this one lone trencher. All the time, there's one little lone trencher just being like, yeah, where's my buddies? And to be fair, I did run out of that type of silver that I use, but I've gone in and I've picked up all my colors, so I should be good for that. But to be honest, right now, I'm not really feeling them. They have a little bit more details than I want to paint, and I'm going to be going and painting something else that actually, it also has quite a bit of details itself, so maybe it's not the right way to go, but I'm going to be going and I'm going to be painting up these Steelhead Riflemen. So Steelhead Riflemen, before I got a little bit of work done on them, basically just like the base green and the silver and the arcs. And so I'm going to start trying to paint these guys up. And I mean, right now they're not really the best. The way that I've best seen using them is that when you already have the best, when you already have Nis Hunters and Gun Mages and stuff like that, and you're looking for what else you can take to put in as much shooty skew as you can, hey, why not these guys? And they can be your front line guys going up there doing some damage, and Power 11s are cool too. But that all means nothing because Mark III is coming, and who knows, maybe these guys will be the new awesome, and they'll be freaking everywhere. So all I can do now is just paint whatever, and who knows whether it'll be in my list in 3 months or not. I have no idea. So let's start these things off here with a drink, because, you know, that's why it's here. So, Mark III. Mark III was announced today, and there are some, to begin with, they didn't really just say like, okay, here's Mark III, here's what to expect. It was announced saying, hey, Mark III is going to be a thing, and then there was a video coming out, kind of like a promotion video, and so at that point, there's wild speculation going around, like, will it mean this, will it mean this, oh my god, what about this, what about that? And then Primecast, that's the actual podcast that War Machine puts out, they did their episode 30. And in their episode 30, I'm not doing any painting at all, this is so bad. In their episode 30, they started talking about a little bit more about the details. Of course, there's way more out there, but they gave some definite actual things that are happening that we can kind of look at. Now, one of the first things you're going to do is they're going to be doubling the points. So this is not like, okay, I keep on having so many things, like I could start talking about this and this and this, but let's talk about this. I did not think that they were going to be doing this Mark III. Given all the erratas and stuff they're doing, I've said it many times in the past, I do not feel like a Mark III was needed. But apparently, I mean, they have some big changes they've been wanting to make for years. This has been in the works for like 3 years, working on Mark III, and so they haven't said anything, but maybe these erratas were more kind of like getting us ready for change, trying to see how we'd respond to some stuff, or just kind of getting us used to some of these changes. But either way, Mark III has been coming for a while yet, and so I was pretty wrong about that. Now, one of the first things they did here is they doubled the points. Now, if you just double the points, that'd be nothing. That'd be like, well, okay, great. Now a storm wall is, 38 points instead of 19. Woo! But what that really does is gives you a lot more granularity, so that if you want, for a 2-point solo, I mean, really at that point, it's like, okay, there's a 2-point solo that's like this 2-point value, but what if it's a little bit worse? You don't really want to go to 1 point. You don't really want to go to 3 points. And so it's a really hard thing to fit. Well, all of a sudden now, if everything's doubled, that 4-point solo can easily go to 3 or go to 5, and you have a lot more wiggle room there. It also happens at the top as well. So they're hoping that that's going to give them a lot more to work with. And honestly, I think it will. I think it will give them more to work with. And where sometimes like, this 2-point solo, he's kind of garbage. Oh, this 3.1, he's too expensive. Now all sounds like, oh, okay, the point differences will align a lot better. The next thing they want to do too is they really want to see, I should have got more black. I have enough. They really want to see more Jacks and War Beasts. And so the way that they're going to be making that happen to begin with is they are just going to be giving you a lot more War Jack points and War Beast points. And so what that means is, whereas normally like, oh, okay, I got 5 or 6 War Beast points and I'll take my 1 Jack and just do the rest on infantry. Well, the old boxes, the old regular battle group boxes, those ones there were about 15 points-ish. They're all kind of varied. But the way they're designed now is that all those ones, once you start taking like the 2 heavies for Khador, or for the Signar one, you have 1 heavy and 2 lights, that's the 0. That's a 0-point list after you have all those points in there. So it's really going to kind of force you to take those extra models, because why the hell not, right? If you have all those Jack points, you might as well spend them. So, I mean, by default, whether Jacks and War Beasts got better, you're going to take more of them because you just have free points, and you'd be a fool not to use them, right? Now, past that, they're going to be doing some things like trying to make Warjacks more efficient. Now, when they first said that in the kind of promo video, they didn't really get into the details, and that's the thing, right? They can say all the promotional stuff they want, but the devil will be in the details. And in the Primecast, they went a little bit further and said that there was going to be something, I can't remember what the rule is called, but what really matters is the effect. And what the effect is, as long as your Jack starts in your caster's control area, it gets a free focus. So, I mean, right there, if you're needing to run up your Jacks, or if you're needing to do whatever, your force will be a lot more focus efficient because you just have all this free focus going around, right? So that's going to help. It's not huge, it's not massive. It's not like what the War Beasts have, where they can just go and get a bajillion buys, and you can go one turn where you're using basically like 30 Fury. You'll pay for it next turn, but on that turn, I mean, you can do so much attrition, it doesn't matter. Well, this free focus will make things work up a little better here for the Jacks. Now, another thing they're going to try and do to try and help out the Hordes, and specifically with their reasoning behind this, the idea was that typically in War Machine, you're stronger late game, whereas Hordes, you're stronger early game. So having that early focus for War Machine gives you a little bit of boost in the beginning. And for Hordes, they're going to be having something so that if your War Beasts die, you can get a free Fury later. And what that does is, for the times where you've been losing all your War Beasts and now you can't generate the Fury you need, well, now you can kind of take some free stuff. And because of this, you probably want to start taking some more. Like, whereas before you might have gone away with taking 1 beast or 2 or whatever, now you might want to take a few more so that if they die, hey, I got some free I can be taken here, and I can really keep this ball rolling. Now again, we do not know yet what the main rules will be. There could be way more big changes, but at this point, we don't know really what that is. Now, one of the things I kind of posted up on the Facebook group was the idea that I believe in privateer press. So I've gone through a lot of changes with Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40k, and a lot of times it felt like the changes were being made just to be changes. They weren't making the game better. They weren't trying to address anything really other than trying to maybe sell more models and, more importantly, just sell more books. Hey, guess what? A new edition is out and everything works completely different, and so if you want to play and know what the rules are, hey, here's this $100 book you have to buy. Now, one, I don't believe that Privateer Press would do that because they're always trying to improve the game. Their only stakeholder is themselves. And at the end of the day, what they've done is said, hey, on the 11th, when this is released at Lock and Load, the main rules will be online for free. So, you know, they're not selling $100 books and really cashing in that way. They will be, of course, having to sell like the cards and stuff separate. If you're on War Room, you'll have to get stuff new again, although I believe there'll be a discount if you're already on there. But yeah, it's not like this is really a cash cow that they're really raking in the dough from. So that's a good sign right there. And again, kind of like what we were saying with it, whereas with Games Workshop, sometimes the changes were made just to have changes. I really feel that these ones here were issues that Privateer Press has been wanting to fix in the game. And, you know, these are people that play the game and play the game competitively, and they understand, like, this is not really working as the way as intended. Maybe when you first put it out, you know, it worked then, but now with new releases, it just isn't working. So I really feel that this will be doing things to address issues, much like we've been seeing in the erratas, right? When the erratas come out, they're pretty big changes, but they're important changes. So I believe these will be more like that. Am I using the wrong silver? Please don't be wrong. Okay, I'm using the right silver. Anyway, so there's that point. Another thing they're going to be doing here is pre-measurement. Now, that's another good one to segue with the I used to be with GW thing, because people are actually, if there's one thing that people are really up in arms right now about, is the fact that in Mark III, you will be allowed to be pre-measuring whatever you want all the time. And there's some people saying that this is disastrous, it's a huge part of the game, how can you take this away? It's a really big skill part of the game that now just is gone, and blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? I went through exactly the same thing in 40k and in fantasy. You know, for the longest time, you couldn't pre-measure anything, and you had to be really good at guessing. And if you think it's hard guessing, like 8 inches and 10 inches and 12 inches, no. Some of the ranges in 40k are like 4 feet or 6 feet, and so trying to guess that stuff for your shots and things, yeah, it was a much bigger deal. And really, when they, over there in 40k and Fantasyland, especially Fantasy, when they gave the idea that they're going to be going to pre-measurement, that was a huge thing. Everyone was up in arms saying, this is horrendous, how can you do this to us? You know, you're taking away this big skill part of the game. But really, when you sat back and you thought about it, you realized how a falsehood of a statement that was. Now, what do you really want this game to be about? Do you want this game to be about math? Because when I go into my games, and again we're going to use fantasy as the example, I was counting every inch. I knew exactly how far apart we were, I knew my threat ranges, and mentally in my head, I was keeping a tally knowing exactly how far each of my guys were from your guys on the other side. It was probably actually really, really good for me and a good mental exercise, but again, I was doing more math than playing, and that's not really what I got into the game for, and so getting away from that was actually a huge relief, you know, whereas after some games, I'd be feeling kind of exhausted from trying to memorize all these numbers and distances and all this. Now I could just relax and just measure it, right? And just say like, okay, you know, let's figure out what this is. And that's another point of it too, is that it really took away a lot of arguing. In fantasy, the charge was everything back in 8th edition. And so or 6th edition, and going back from there, and it was really massive. And when they took that away and said that, well, now you can pre-measure, it really felt like, well, come on. A big part of what I try and do if I was slower is that I would try and bait my faster opponent into a charge, you know? I would put myself what it looks like within an inch of what his threat range was. He would come in, fail the charge, and that's what would give me the opportunity to go back. Or something like that. I would be trying to bait my opponent. And the thing is that this type of trickery and stuff doesn't really work at a higher level of gaming anyway. People kind of know their measurements, especially because there's so many ways of getting around it. Using the zones of indicators, going around objectives and flags, using your control command, taking a shot from here and measuring this. You could start going to calculations, right? You know, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Doing all this crazy stuff if you really wanted to. And at the end of the day, the question was, well, do we want to turn this into a game with a calculator, or do we just want to let you measure? And especially when it came down to those really, really, really close ones where, you know, you measure the charge and it's super crazy close. And it's one of those questions of like, well, is it in, is it out? You know, depending on who gets this is going to basically win or lose the game. So as a tournament organizer, it was a real negative experience for everyone, because here I am being called in saying, oh, TO, make a call on whether this is in or out, and really I'm being asked, who do I want to win? And it wasn't because it's based off of skill, it's just based off of measurements, right? And so when you took that out in fantasy and said, now you can pre-measure anything, well, now before anything is declared, you can go and measure and say, okay, look at this, I am this distance away, we're good, right? Yep, okay. You know, sometimes it is still really close, so you either roll it off or you still have to bring somebody in, but it took a lot more of that stress off of it, because you can just right away measure it, and there's no more gotchas, right? There's no more like, oh man, I thought I was an inch closer and I thought this would be a sure thing, and now it's really far. Now going into it, you are having that measured, and you know full well that, you know, you will or won't make it. And it makes the game flow so much easier. And again, do you want the game to be about, you know, good moves and maneuvers, or do you want to be about good math? You know, when you look at it that way, it's like, yeah, let's get rid of the pre-measurement. So coming back to War Machine, like I said, there's a lot of people right now that over the pre-measuring, there's a lot of yelling of, you know, doom and gloom and the sky is falling and all that stuff. But honestly, guys, for those of you who have not played that in other systems or anything like that, it really, really won't be a big deal. I mean, don't worry about that whatsoever. So there's that. There's the pre-measurement. Another big one is also there'll be no psychology to the game. So one of the more negative play experiences, let's call it, of War Machine is the importance of psychology. Now, psychology is always an interesting factor to have in the game. And having something that's interesting and realistic, nothing wrong with that whatsoever, right? That's exactly what you want to have in the game. However, when you can have the result of a game being determined by just those two little dice, it becomes something that's not nice anymore and is more kind of dominating it. So a good example of this is, let's say you are going up there with your jam unit or whatever it is, and it's like, oh, that unit has terror. Okay, well, let me take a test. Well, you fail it, and so now not only do your guys not make their attacks or whatever, but next turn they're not going to activate as well. And maybe they're not a jam unit, maybe they're a combat unit, maybe they're blocking guys behind you, maybe whatever. Losing that unit's activation is huge and can really just determine the game right there, right? Hey, I failed my Command 9 test. Guess I lose. And that's, again, not what the game should be about. It's something that's realistic, and I'll never argue that, but at the same time, it just goes kind of a little bit too far. Yeah, I got silver on me now. Pew pew. So that one, I mean, talking with my brother, that was always my brother's biggest thing. I always put things specifically in my list to try and deal with that. Either playing things that are fearless, like loving that in my Cephalix, or making sure I'm taking Hawk to make sure that my press gangers are going to be fearless, or taking the Effigy of Valor to make sure that I get fearless that way. Something to all just try and mitigate this small little rule that isn't really adding too much, but at the same time can just have a huge effect on the game. So that one there, again, I think it's a really big change. Now, the next one here, I mean, some people thought like, well, how big will the changes be? Are they just going to kind of fix a few little things here and there? No, this is a completely rebalancing. They're going to be looking at everything now, rebalancing stats and abilities and point costs and everything. So there'll be new card sets coming out that you're going to need to get. You will not be able to play with your old ones. I mean, not only will the points be wrong, but the stats and the cost and everything's going to be wrong in there too. So, yeah, that's something that will definitely be a big change. And something cool with that is they said while they're doing this, not only are they going to be making things more balanced, but they're also going to be making things more unique. So that each Warcaster or Warlock, whatever have you, typically you always like them having something to be a little bit different. You don't want to be saying like, oh, this is just another support caster that has X and X and X. Well, no, you want something to be very different. So something they said is that everyone's going to have some unique ability or something that's going to really put them aside from everybody else. And that's really good that they're trying to do that, right? I mean, it's one thing saying like, oh, I got a feat, but there's a lot of feats that overlap that are pretty close to each other, if not, exactly the same type thing. And so it's nice that they're taking that extra step, trying to make everything a little more interesting and unique. So really happy to see that. Again, if this was Privateer Press, if this was Games Workshop, and they're saying, oh, we're going to be rebalancing things, I might be a little bit cynical and say, okay, well, let's see what you're trying to sell next, right? I mean, when all of a sudden monsters got Thunderstomp and stuff like that, at first you thought that, okay, they're just trying to improve monsters, when really they're just about to try and sell a bunch more of the monsters. So, and again, I'm trying not to be too negative on Games Workshop. Clearly I am to a certain degree, but what I'm trying to really stress here is the difference, where the biggest thing with Games Workshop is that they are traded openly, they have stocks and all that, and then they have stakeholders, and they have to be turning a profit, and so the choices they make have to go to be giving them their worth. Now, of course, Privateer Press wants to make money too, but what we've seen time and time again is more often than not, Privateer Press is making their decisions to improve the state of the game rather than just trying to make a quick buck, right? So I'm really feeling that things like, okay, you feel that the steelhead riflemen aren't really worth it. Well, when you double them up and being 20 points, well, maybe they go down to 19 to make them a little bit cheaper, or 18, or they have a new ability, or whatever, to really balance things across the board. And a big thing that they were stressing there as well is the idea about how they've been learning as they went, right? How at one time they kind of really feel that, okay, this is kind of our baseline here, but as they try out and do new things, your baseline kind of shifts. And so it's really good to take these times to kind of stop, sit down, look at everything as a whole, and to say, all right, deep breath, is this really correct? What can we do to realign everything? And everyone's going to come out a lot better for that. So really looking forward to see what that means. Of course, I'm always a little bit scared too. They didn't actually. One thing that everyone was talking about that they didn't really mention, or at least I didn't hear, was the idea of tier lists. Tier lists have been a real issue, or a hot topic, let's put it that way. And people have really thought that in the next errata or whatever, they're going to be addressing these tier lists. Now, if they're redoing everything, they could just change every tier list out there. They could just say there's no more tier lists. So that's definitely a very, very big topic that has not been addressed yet. So I don't know if it's going to actually be a pretty major one, like no more tiers. But again, I don't really feel Privateer Press would do that. They don't want to invalidate models if they can, I'm sure. But at the same time, they got to make a balanced game, and that's got to be their number one concern. Now, what that means, though, unfortunately, is that for people that have bought models specifically for tiers, you might be out of luck. So, for example, for my part, where I have things like the gun mages, if all of a sudden they're not unlimited anymore, there's no tier list that enables that, well, really, I got to kind of sell a few units of gun mages there. But, there's other people that are a lot more invested into a tier than that. But, we've already seen that with EE, with Calandra's tier force there, how they're willing to go in there and make changes to those tier lists. And even though you might have a significant investment, they'll do their best to kind of make it so you can still use the models, but they will go after the tier list that you need to go after. So again, I'm kind of just standing on a soapbox with that one because I have no information to go on. They did not mention tiers whatsoever that I remember. But definitely, I'm sure that's something you should be expecting to see addressed in one way or another. So, heads up on that. And I mean, if you're a person who's just buying something now, don't buy into a tier list. Don't buy into a set tournament list. Go and try and find a faction you like. Go and buy factions, not lists. And then as they make their changes, you'll be in a much, much better spot. So the next thing we have on the list here is huge bases. So they made a comment about how when it came to the battle engines and the gargantuans and some of the colossals as well, that they sided on the side of caution. And in doing so, a lot of the gargantuans and battle engines really weren't as effective as they had really hoped that they would be. Because you kind of held back on the reins there, they just really didn't end up being very valid or competitive. I mean, you can still always take them and make things work, but they really weren't the strong choices that they really wanted them to be. So overall, huge bases are getting another real look at them. Something they want to say with that too is that with the doubling of the points, these guys become significantly expensive, but even though they might be ending up being 4 times as expensive, they're going to be 4 times as good. So that's going to be interesting. One worry I have from that is, as a person who owns 2 storm walls, can I still use 2 storm walls? Will they go to only allowing 1? That's a big change that we're going to kind of see which way they go with. So eyes open for that one, but whereas I was really looking forward to running like double storm wall and a hurricane or double hurricane storm wall, yeah, it's time to rein back in those thoughts and just kind of wait to see what changes they make. Because again, them being super strong is awesome, but them being super expensive means that maybe you can't take all those guys, or maybe they just aren't really as valid as some other choices. But again, the devil will be in the details here. Right now, we have some overarching changes that they're making, and it's really going to come down to stats and numbers, which I believe will be, honestly, again, Privateer Press are I have faith in them that they're going to do their best to balance everything, but it's in those little details that, of course, all the gamers are going to look for the loopholes and what's best now type thing. But, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, seeing what they do. Another one here, for those who really care about the story, is they decided to advance the story significantly. So, of course, every book, they do like another step here, do something here, but with that, they don't really go too far. With this, though, they're going to really jump ahead. They're going to go ahead by 2 years. Everything's really changed. Attackers are now defenders. There's going to be a new ruler in Signar. Everything's different. And one of the ideas there is that if you are currently a new player coming in and you want to understand the fluff, you have to go back and read a whole bunch of books. Now, what this would allow you to do is that if you want to keep up with the stories, you won't need to know anything from the past, and you can really start from right now. They're going to go and close up the story from what was been building up so far, and then go forward and say, all right, that was fun. Here's the new story arc, and kind of go with that. With that, though, another big thing is that they said they're not going to go to the level like Game of Thrones, but the safety is off, meaning that casters are probably now going to die. Now, they had Zal 2 die, and then, or Zal 1 die, but then he's become Zal 2 inside of like a little ancient guardian guy. But my interpretation from this is that whereas a writer before, they might be a little bit hamstrung because you're forced to keep up a story with all these characters. Now, if you're done with a story character, you can just kill them and keep on going and go with a different direction in the story, right? You're not always forced to find a way like, okay, what is Siege doing now? Type, 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 type. Oh, by the way, Sloan. Type, 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 type. You know what? We're focusing on somebody new. This other guy, he's dead. He's dead. And that guy there, he's dead too. Now, I'm sure it's not going to be like Age of Sigmar, where like all your favorite guys are dead now, kind of like that Game of Thrones thing. But I do expect that over time, they're going to kill off a few characters. It won't really change anything game-wise, because I'm sure that you'll be able to play your old versions of the model. But again, for them writing the story, it just gives them more ability to advance the story and make it an interesting, compelling story, as opposed to everyone's invincible and we're going to just introduce new characters over and over and over until our cast is 1 billion people large. Talking about that, the new one for Signar, who will be a big part of the current story, is our new Stormblade caster. Her name is Beth Maddox, and she looks kind of cool. She kind of looks like the Striker 2 pose with a big blade, and we'll have to kind of see what she does. With that too, all the factions are going to be getting new casters, and the way you're going to get them is they're going to be in the new battle group boxes. So the battle group boxes look a lot more significant. They're now coming with, they're almost more kind of going for like the 2-player box, where they have the rules dice, there's like a little mat and all this stuff, there's a rule book and all these things. So a little bit larger. The cost looked to be not too bad. I believe it was like $50. That's probably American. Who knows? But either way, if you want to get those new casters, you have to get them from that battle group box. And later on, they'll have like alternate sculpts, but that is kind of a way where they're kind of forcing you to come in and buy something. But that's not so bad. When you get this model and you're getting the rule book, I realize that definitely is a play for trying to get more money, but it's one I'm okay with, right? It's one where I can go in and I'll buy this, maybe it's $50, but I really just want that one caster that I would have spent $15 on anyway, but now I have these other models that I might have wanted as well, or I can sell them, and there's a rule book and stuff like that. So overall, I don't see it as that bad, and if nothing else, they changed up the battle groups. So say for Signar, where before it was an Ironclad and a Lancer and a Charger, well now that Charger has turned into a Firefly. And you might say like, Firefly, God, they're just trying to push these guys. Well, at the same time, remember, they're changing everything. So whereas right now, the Firefly is kind of like that's not that great of a jack. Also now, the rebalancing, I don't think they're going to go and make it amazing now, but it should be like, yeah, that's a decent choice. That's something I'll take. And so people who didn't own one before, again, this will be a good one to now get one into their collection. So, I realize there's a little bit of a money play there, but it's one that I feel is acceptable. This is not a $200 box. This is a $50 box, right? So that scale is within the realms of okay in my books. And we need to get some more Sambuca. So there's that. Next thing here, I kind of already mentioned this, but this is all going to be happening at Lock and Load. So on June 11th, or that weekend they're going to be running their regular stuff, and they'll be like, okay, from the start, we're not going to be talking about anything new. We're going to do our tournaments. Let's see who is the last Iron Gauntlet winner of Mark II. We'll make a big deal of it. We'll have lots of fun. Then we'll draw a line, and we'll say, okay, that's done now. Here's all Mark III, and let's enjoy this. And some of the cool things they're doing is you always hear at these things that there's these lines, super long, trying to get these. And you hire these ninjas to go and pick up stuff for you. And they'll stand in line for you. Well, they really want to take that away. They won't want people spending their convention standing in a line. So what they're going to do is for those first 2 days, you can go in there and just do your pre-order, and then on the next day, come in and just pick it up at your leisure, right? You don't have to worry like, what if this is sold out and I really need to get there? or else I won't get one. No, there'll be plenty for everyone. Put in your name, and whenever you feel, wander on by and get it. That being said, you can be sure there'll still be a line, as people wouldn't be the first to get it. But I mean, if you want to avoid that line, go hours later, have a game or two, have breakfast, have lunch, and then after stop on by and pick it up. They also said that a lot of the staffers will be on hand there as kind of like ringers in the different events. So they'll be there kind of playing that game with you. So that's really cool, right? Like, you don't see that stuff from Games Workshop. Again, I love playing the game. I really looks here like I'm burning bridges and saying, screw you, fantasy and 40K. But when I played those games back in their golden age, they were amazing. And if somebody, had the models and want to play 8th edition or 7th edition with me now for fantasy, I'd be all for it. But you have to admit that they never went to these lengths. It was never like, hey, show up and come to this convention, and we're going to, first of all, this is a convention that Games Workshop's putting on, and then we're going to be revealing this big thing to you in this big, huge event, and we'll make sure there's all the stuff for you here, and our developers, and like the people that design the rules will be there to talk to you in person. That just doesn't happen, right? Even their own forums were a beginning where you could talk to these guys, they shut those down, right? And this is just in person, and it just feels so real, and it's just so great at Privateer Press to say, hey, this is amazing, we're excited for it, you're excited for it, let's just celebrate together. So, the question I'm sure we get is, well, Malorian, are you going to go to Lock and Load? Because they said in there, they're going to blow this one up. If you are going to go to one Lock and Load in your life, this is the one to go to. So, the question is can Malorian go to Lock and Load? There's no way in hell. There's no way I can do it. I mean, you could look at the financial part, where financially right now the Canadian dollar is really poor. The Canadian economy makes me worry about spending money when my job security is low. But the number one thing, guys, is that weekend is, as always, my anniversary weekend. So I would literally have to get a divorce to go and do this thing. I've talked to my wife. I have said, like, can we just celebrate a different time? Can you come with me? Can we do anything to make this work? And it is just a flat out no. This is not going to happen. This is not War Machine time. This is lovey-dovey anniversary time. So, okay, I can understand that. Point taken. But, yeah, I really wish I could go. There's so many people I'd love to meet there. Like, I've met lots of people here at GrotzCon, but, man, going to something like that, that's where you get to meet everyone in person. And it's like, I can meet the developers and everyone, and, wow, it would just be really amazing. So, really wish I could go, but unfortunately I can't. Another thing that they were talking about there, too, is that there will be the announcement of the new Hordes faction. And it's not going to be released there. It's not going to be released to the following Lock and Load in 2017. But that's when the first, teasers will start coming out and stuff like that. And one of the interesting things that they said on the Primecast there is that they really went crazy with this one. They said that nothing was off bounds, or out of bounds rather, that they would just really try anything new and different, and that this one should be a real, change in a direction of just fun and crazy. Now, that's great to hear. Something new and different is always awesome. I don't know what this is going to be. He did make one comment about something about an ecosystem, which makes me wonder if it'll be like a plant-based faction or something like that. But they also made a comment about how it's more kind of like more going into like the wacky and fun and all that stuff. And what that makes me think of, and I could just be wildly off, but I can always hope, is the idea that this is going to be, or could be, like that Orc and Goblin faction, right? This is the one that's going to have orcs by whatever they call them, and the goblins and gobbers, or however they want to name them, but it's going to be that green skin faction. That's going to be the one that's like wacky, and they're going to be like fighting each other and like random things happening. We've already seen it with that one gremlin swarm, right? Where it's like, who knows what those guys are going to do? And as tactical as I like to be, I love that in Warhammer Fantasy. The idea that I never know when these guys are just going to go crazy and fight each other. You just can't take the game super seriously, and you just get to have more fun. So, I gotta say right now, if that is the new faction, I'm starting it. Signar Mercenaries, it's been fun, but my avatar is a greenskin for a reason, and I will be all over that faction. So, again, I think the odds of that actually happening are probably pretty low. You know, there's a lot of other ways they could go with it, and when they were talking about how they went to like to the dark recesses of their minds and all that stuff, well, to be honest, the idea of like, ooh, orcs and goblins, like that's not really actually that crazy of an idea. Whereas again, something like, hey, we got a faction based off plants. Okay, wow, there is so many different crazy ways you could go with that, and that'd be fresh and interesting, and who knows what they're going to do with it. So I really do feel that that's way more probable that they're going to go with something like that. But again, we have no idea. All we can do is wait these 2 agonizing months into lock and load, and just see what they announce there. I should probably like take that day off now and just be ready to say like, all right, boss, I know something big might be happening. I don't care, because if I'm in at work, I'm not going to do anything anyway. I'm just going to be attached to those, you know, the stream or whatever, and trying to see whatever this is. So, yeah, definitely very interesting. Apart from that, I don't think I missed anything else major. That's what they've announced so far. They're still going to come back, and they're going to be talking a little bit more about the formats. So who knows what types of changes they could be having there. From the Steamroller beta changes or tests so far, we've been able to see, you know, that the scenarios aren't wildly different, that the objectives, they're still there in flag. So it's not like it's going to be a completely different game, but, you know, who knows that there'll be like a different new format. I guess there's always champions, but who knows what other plans they still have that haven't been shown yet, right? So that'll be really interesting to see. Also, it looks like their prize support is changing, so I can't find anything to do with trophies. I put in a request trying to ask, like, where can I get these from? It looks like everything is pins now, and in particular, there's now a pin for Best Painted and Best Sportsmanship. So that's a totally different way that, you know, Privateer Press has never gone. It's always been like, who's number 1, 2, 3, and stuff like this. I guess like in their German leagues, they do go and support whoever painted the most and stuff like that. But they've never like sold a trophy, you know, for being best painted and stuff like that. So this finally now is something in that direction. So for people who are more into that side of the hobby, where they're more into the, you know, playing it for fun and going for best sportsman or being a good painter or whatever it is, you know, I'm sure they'll be all very happy to learn that, you know, they're going to have something they can fight for, right? You might not be the best player, but hey, if you are an awesome painter, we now have a great way to recognize that. So that's going to be interesting. To be honest, I do wish they were trophies and not pins. I'm not really a pin guy, but at the same time I realize that they are cheaper and shipping costs were really starting to try and kill things. So, okay, a change had to be made, but I want to have trophies. Trophies are what it's really all about. So, there you go. We'll kind of see where that goes. Otherwise, yay, Brown's getting done. It's come along for this painting here. You know, there's other details I could paint. Right now I'm not, just because I want to see how it kind of turns out. Like on this cloak, there's the trim, and so I could be painting that trim as well, but I don't really feel like doing it. You know, these guys are, like I said, are going to be more like the throwaway guys, or you're going to go up and die. So I don't want to give them like a super great painting level. Plus, when I look at other stuff, like these guys here, I didn't give them trim on their capes. Usually the trim I save for like the casters and stuff like that. So let's try and keep these guys a little more simple. So otherwise, guys, like I said, that really is all the new spoilers for what's coming up here. And I'm psyched. I just can't wait to see what some of the changes will be. You know, if I could right now spend $100 and I just get that rule book right now, I'm pretty sure I'd go for it. I'd be like, buy now, right? Just make it happen. I want to know exactly what these changes are, but I can't. I gotta wait those 2 months until lock and load, and then I'm gonna get the new cards. I mean, one of the things there too is that if you have one of everything, the new card decks will be perfect for you. But if you have multiples, right, then it might not work for you. I'm sure they're going to have things like 2 Centurions and 2 Defenders and stuff like that in the deck, but there's no way in hell that they're going to have 14 Buccaneers, right? So I'm sure that once this comes out, there's going to be a huge order for cards for a lot of people. So I hope they'll be ready for that, because it's definitely going to come. I also feel bad for my brother, because he just recently had to order, he lost his troll cards, and so he had to order them in, and it was a big deal, and it took a long time to get in, and he finally got it, and now it's like, oh, they're basically useless. So, unfortunate there, but either way, it's all for the better. So if you're here for me talking about Mark III, that's really going to be my Mark III talk. We're here now at the 45-minute. I'm pretty sure, maybe, possibly, I'll get these 2 models done in the hour. If I can keep this up and keep my expectations low, everything will be fine. If my brush keeps on keeping together and not splitting, that'd be pretty awesome too. But yeah, I'll now be talking about something different. One of the things is that when I said I was going to be doing this here, some people said I should make this as a live event and do a live stream, and I stopped doing that for a couple of reasons. Originally, the reason why I stopped doing the live events is because YouTube changed the way that you have to do your live events, and whereas before it used to be like, click, go live. Now you have to download this stuff and try and go through these other ways. It's a lot more complicated, the process. Plus, there's always errors where it wasn't syncing up right, so I wasn't seeing comments, or there was a big, huge delay, or feedback, or something like that. It just wasn't working out very well. And then, of course, when you're doing a live event, you have to make sure that you're 100%. So, like right now, come on, I got like this damn dog hair everywhere. Like right now, my throat's starting to go, right? It's going to last the rest of this. But if my throat died and I start croaking in the middle of a live event, I'm kind of stuck with it. Whereas right now with this, if my voice goes really bad, I can just stop the video. I can go and have a drink or something other than Sambuca. They'll hopefully clear things up and return again and edit it together. So, you know, between those, that's the reason why I didn't really go with it. But I kind of thought for this one, let's have some fun and let's make this one live. So I started dancing through the hoops to make this a live stream. And yeah, it was ridiculous. Because again, in order to try and do it, I have to download this encoder. In doing that, it gives me all these options for all these ones I could download. For PC, I went with XSplit. And when I started going through that one, I get to the last step, because it says right in the beginning, this is free. And then as I finally get into it, now it says like, okay, if you want to do this, it costs this much. It's like, well, where's the free? Where'd the free come in? So maybe it's like free to download, but then you got to pay to use. So after I went through that, it was like, yeah, to hell with this. I'm just going to do it like this. So otherwise, there's that. This brown is almost done. Another big thing I'm going to be working on as well is there's a little conversion I'm going to be working on. So my brother was wanting to get into Terminus, and of course now that might change. Who knows what's going to be happening with Terminus now with the changes. But yeah, I had bought him Terminus, and then it turned out he really, really hated the sculpt in terms of the arms and the head and the wings. So I thought, you know what? Because I like to convert and because I feel bad for getting this crappy model, let's go and do it. And so I'm going to be doing a separate video that's going to be kind of showing that progress. But just know that there's been some real challenges. The original model, you know, like it doesn't have a neck and stuff like this. The head really didn't really go on very well before, so now that when I get rid of the head and I want to add something else, I'm going to need to green stuff a neck or something like that. Trying to get bits for it, coming to GW again. I was like, wow, this would look amazing. Oh, $170? Maybe not. So luckily I was able to work out some trades and get some bits. And then I had some issues where like I had 2 right arms and stuff like this. And it's been a process. I really hope to really be a lot further into it by now, but not working out so far. These guys are going good, though. I got 10 minutes, and I'm pretty sure I can do this. I mean, this is how they're both looking now, which, again, is not like the best. Like, remember, the wash will do a lot of the detail work for me, but really what I need to do is just like the dark brown for the wood of the gun now, and then just kind of go and do his eyes, because even though he's wearing a helmet, it's one of those annoying helmets where there's like a tiny visor to look in. So it's kind of crazy. When I do this, it looks so bright on the camera, but it's not that bright in real person. But either way, I'll have to kind of sneak in there and dot the eyes or something. That's not really that hard. It's pretty easy. But yeah, I haven't been doing any painting for a long time. Last month, all I got done were the Biles and Mobius and the one deck gun, which actually isn't too bad, you know, considering. But seeing as how in past months I've painted tons, it definitely is a scale back. So we're already a ways into April. I haven't done anything, and so hopefully now that I have my paints again, I can really get back into this. One of the things that's also been kind of holding back my painting is the fact that my kids have been really big into Minecraft right now, and so whereas before, if they were want to play some other video game, they could play it on the TV and I could just be here painting while they do that. Well, now they need my computer to play, and so while they're on my computer, this is also my workspace, and so until I change things up here and set up like a computer desk or something like that, I can't really paint while they play, and that's really kind of taking away from my time. Plus right now my wife is in night school, and so that sounds good. Like for a while here I have a little bit of time where I can do something, but typically it's a lot more like I have to get laundry done or dishes or a battle report or something like that, and then by the time she gets home, okay, well now it's time for Game of Thrones or something like that. And again, you know, I love her and I want to spend time with her, but it's just several factors coming together which are making it pretty hard to paint. Like, what happened? Did my dog like come down here and just like get a haircut? There's freaking dog hair everywhere. Definitely have to go and get that guy shaved. He looks so bad. He's this huge dog. He's a Newfoundland collie. So he's like really big like a Newfoundland, but he looks like a collie. And man, does his hair get everywhere. So many times I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be brushing my teeth and I'll be like, what's that? And I'll pull like a white hair that's like this long out from my beard. It's like, it just kind of weaves in there, you know. And he's getting older, and I know it's bad, but I'm almost kind of looking forward to when he's not with us anymore, because our 2 new dogs are both dachshunds, so just little tiny hairs. There won't be these big clumps anywhere, these big long white hairs. It'll make things a lot cleaner. But then again, he's a great dog, a very loyal dog. You know, he's one of those dogs where I could just leave him in the front yard all day, and he would just lie there and, you know, sleep and rest. And, you know, when I came home, then his tail would wag, and he'd come to see me, and everything's all happy, right? So well behaved. But damn those hairs. Deal breaker. So, yeah, he's a great guy. How are we doing for time? 7 minutes. I'm going to get this done. I always hate getting to an end of a video and not getting this stuff done. And I knew at the start of this that I'd get so much talking into Mark III that I'd fall behind, but I think I'm still going to make it. But otherwise, you know, I know I'm going to be fine for the changes getting back to Mark III, I guess, because I have a whole faction and whole factions. You know, I own almost everything for Signar, and I own almost everything for Mercenaries. That really, this is a strategy that I had going into Fantasy and 40k as well, is that since I owned every single orc, it didn't matter what they change. Oh, right now chariots are awesome? Okay, grab the chariots. Oh, right now the cav are good? Grab the cav. Now this, whatever. I just then grab that off the shelf. So really, if Stormblades become amazing, or Storm Strider, or whatever, it's here waiting. So, yeah, and again, I really feel it won't be a thing where like, oh, this isn't selling much, we're going to make it amazing now. I think it'll be more like, right now this is kind of underpowered, we're just going to align things so that they're equal now. Not like, okay, this is not selling, make it amazing. I don't think it's going to be like that. So close, so close. Just got to like, let's do whatever. I just need to like dot the black at the end of the gun and then start like dotting the eyes. It's always a question about whether I want to trust my brush. Oh, look at that thing splitting. You traitorous bastard. Or if I want to go to my toothpick. My good old, dependable, low-tech toothpick. Which, looking from my kids playing here, the toothpick is not here. Swell. That is just awesome. Is my toothpick in here? Alright, toothbrush. Or not toothbrush. Alright, paintbrush. You're up. Let's see how good you can do. Because I am going to finish this. I have 5 minutes, and damn it, this model is going to get done. I have to dot these eyes. This is like a race now. All of a sudden at the end of this, it's like, gotta go. Fast, fast, fast. This is going to turn out so bad. This brush already is... It is not going to do this well. Alright, but we're going to find a way. We're going to find a way. We're going to try and make this as pointed as possible. I should use one of my other brushes. Why am I doing this? Okay, you know what? I'm just going to put white everywhere in there right now then. This is not the good way to go. Normally I'd be trying to be a little bit more careful, but for some reason, like, there's no reason why I need to get this done by that time. You know, I could very easily just go an extra couple of minutes, but it's like I see the clock and it's like, you know what? I can do it. Let's go for that race. So now I'm going to quickly get... Why am I doing the flesh first? I should have done the flesh after I dotted the eyes. So now we're going to quickly try and touch up the hands. Looks pretty good, actually. Not there. Your little wooden hands. There, that's fixed. That's okay. Okay, good. Oh, I really just screwed up my brush there. I went to go and stab it in the paint, and I like just hit the sides. The brush went like... Pfft. So, that's not good. But I was able to fix it fast enough. I mean, it's not fixed. And now I have all these rebel bristles, bristles, I guess would be the word, sticking out. Threatening just to be like, you know, you go to try and get one thing, and it's like, okay, now I guess I got skin color all over my sleeve. Fantastic. But it actually went pretty well. Is the gun good? Am I happy with the gun? No, I'm not. Need to do some silver touch-ups. What I got 2 minutes. Let's get that a little bit more pointed. Gun touch-ups. Go, go, go. I wish I could actually do more speed painting. I think I actually like speed painting a little bit more too, because I feel like I have an excuse for not having good painting. You know, if you look at a model that you painted in 5 minutes, you can be like, wow, that model sucks. But at the same time, I can come back and say, I painted in 5 minutes. Whereas if I have like a full, you know, weekend to paint something and it's crappy, then it's like, I did my best, but my best just isn't that good. You know, you kind of get away from that. Alright, we're going to go to one of my crappy old brushes, but it has very few bristles. Ooh, are you going to work? I don't think so. You're good. Ah, that one's actually somewhat passable. I don't think this is a reject brush, an old brush. I think this is one I actually haven't used yet. You're going to save the day? Is my crappy blue going to ruin the day? Got 1 minute. Got 1 minute. All we got to do is dot the eyes. Dot. And dot. And dot. Dot. Okay. Clean brush. Get up the skin. 50 seconds. Why am I putting this stress on myself? Why does everything have to be so stressful? Okay. Okay, go around the eyes and nose. 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 This is gotta be like great watching for you guys. Just watching me panic over nothing. 30 seconds, 30 seconds. Just gonna finish the helmet around. Okay, we're looking good. The paint's kind of wet. Please don't bleed. Looking okay, looking okay. What do we got for time? 15 seconds, 15 seconds. Okay, you're good. Next one, helmet. And know too that when you're looking at the time, you probably think it's already over, but that's because you're seeing also the intro time. And done. Paint down. And we're done with 2 seconds to spare. And in exactly 1 hour, I was able to finish painting my 2 guys. I still have to put the wash on there and stuff like that, but I'm pretty happy with it. So there you go, guys. Paintisodes are back. Painting is happening again. Mark III is coming, and we're going to have to see what's happening there. Again, please don't get into the doom and gloom. If you're a person that's really worried about pre-measurement, realize that pre-measurement is actually a good thing, and that Privateer Press isn't going to come here and ruin their game. It's a game that they play too, and they want to make amazing, and they want to enjoy, so realize that they're going to be doing good things. So there you guys go. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments on my painted stuff, or the conversion idea, or of course Mark III will be the big one, post it down below. I'll be responding to any of your Mark III ideas or concerns, and we'll catch you later. Bye. Hey there, if you liked watching this video, please go down and give it a like down below you here. And if you have any concerns or questions or comments, please put those in the comment section as well. You know, the best way for me to give you what you want to see is if you tell me what you like seeing and what you don't like seeing. So otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later.